Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Andrea Mason with my good friend, Miss Nicole Gordon. Miss Nicole, how are you doing today?
Hi, Miss Mason. I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have an amazing connection today. As I said, we have the power of the presence of peace, purity, and the patience of love with the woman of resilience, my cohort, Miss Nicole Gordon, and your woman of integrity, global voice, yours truly, Andrea Mason. So we decided today that we were going to connect and share our stories of who we are, how we are connected, and what our message and mission is in this life. And as you know, we're coming up on the last week of the year to make powerful impact and perseverance and the purity of our own selves, acting with integrity through peace and love. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pass it over to my cohort, Miss Nicole Gordon, to introduce herself, a little bit about her story, and welcome with warm hearts and smiles, bright smiles, Miss Nicole Gordon. Here you go, my dear.
Hello, everyone. I just want to thank you so much for joining the broadcast today. And I also, again, want to thank Miss Mason for inviting me here. We are here to just have a conversation, but before we do that, my name is Nicole Gordon. Some may know me by my stage name, which is Nikki Bamboo. Some people know me from ministry. Some people just know me from life. We crossed paths. So um, I just want to say, I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Had a challenging life, but I'm here. Um, had some backgrounds with going through foster care, and you'll hear much more about my journey as we go along in the conversation. But I'm 27 years old, entrepreneurial in ministry, 12 years so far. So you'll hear much more about my journey, like I said, as we go along in the conversation. But I want to pass it back to Miss Mason so she can tell you a bit about herself.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Nicole. Yes, this is an aspiring woman whom I'm connected with perseverance, passion, and purity. And one of the connections that we established was that we are made similarly. We have backgrounds that are of making the impossible possible, a life of resilience, a life of passion. A little bit about me for those of you who don't know. My name is Andrea Mason, coming from the northeastern area of the United States, but I was originally born in Colombia, South America, arriving here at 11 months old. And the reason why I am on this broadcast today is for us to show and share our knowledge of intellect, the hidden gems, as well as the struggles and strengths that we have created together in a life of resilience, in purity, the essence of love and passion, and most importantly, living a life of peace. So, we're going to start it off with just a little bit of our stories. So, where we come from. So, we're going to start off with Ms. Nicole and letting her share her story of her childhood from what has propelled her up to this point. So, I encourage you to put your ear a little bit closer and listen to her story as I pass it over to Ms. Nicole Gordon in sharing her love, her journey, and her resiliency as a woman of resilience. Back to you, Nicole.
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Mason. So I basically want to say my story is, I think the audience would be so interested to understand and that my story is not much different from much of you watching. My story is I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I had a, like I said, kind of a turbulent life. But I've come to also understand that a lot of it has propelled me to the where I am today, and also to become the person that I am today. So I had grew up in foster care. I ended up in foster care due to some issues with both of my parents, and I stayed there for a while. Went to school just like any other kid, but I also grew up in abusive environments, and so that led to a lot of my childhood trauma and different things that I had to go through. But I it has been the birth of a book that I'm working on that many will be hearing about very soon, and also the another course that I'll be working on for children and parents to reconcile relationships, which is something that has happened for me. So I'm reconcile with many of the things that I've went through, but I think that someone else needs that hope, and that's why I'm here today.
Excellent. Pardon us with a little bit of adjustments with technical difficulty. So we're gonna start it off with providing each other with questions and answers. Like I said, this is a casual, conservative platform where we are authentic, acting with integrity, and speaking up about what it is to be an orphan, an adoptee, coming from a home of the unknown and the uncertain. See, just like Miss Nicole, I never met my parents. I came to America at 11 months old, weighing in at 11 pounds, and I have no photographs, no medical records, no images, no knowledge of my history. So, to my American adoptive parents, it was a blessing, it was a treasure. But unbeknownst to me, during my childhood, adolescent, and early adulthood years, I had a blank slate. I had to figure out where I fit in, where I was in the world. Would I be able to aspire to inspire into my parents' shoes? My parents were successful bankers on all realms in Wall Street and, all the local elite banks, prestigious banks. How am I supposed to follow in their shoes if I don't know who I am? And I truly can resonate with Miss Nicole on having that sense of limited identity, but then being resilient to create and take the pen in our own hand and write our own stories. So going back to a little bit to what Miss Nicole had mentioned, we'd love to share, and I believe it's important for parents, families, mentors, coaches, adults, or anybody that's willing to take that step, that brave step, and adopt a child on the mental health components that it takes, what you're walking into, what you're bringing to the table for the families, what you're understanding and learning about the children that are you're welcoming into your home. So I'm going to shine a light on that, and I'm going to have Miss Nicole respond on her journey on being welcomed into a family, as well as trying to understand, heal, and be released from her original family. Miss Nicole.
Thanks, Ms. Mason. So it was, I would say, it was very challenging. It was very challenging because every time you turned around, it was a change. And change is already hard. I know we all go through different changes in our lives, and maybe you cannot relate to my journey and my struggle, but every kind of change in life is hard, and it was always a change. So for me to be a part of a new family, it was a great feeling to be accepted and to be treated as a family member within a new family. But at the same time, there's always that I want to know in the back of your mind. And I think that everyone that's watching can relate in the sense of wanting to know where you come from. wanting to know your origins, wanting to know where you come from. Because they always say if you don't know where you're coming from, you can't know where you're going. And so that was one of my major struggles, just to know who I was, to know where I came from, to know where I was going. So, in order to start that journey, I had to first go within myself. And that in itself was a challenge because you always have that trauma there. You know, sometimes your identity is so wrapped up in trauma that you don't even want to begin to unravel it to find out who you are. But I did take that journey. I'm happy to say that I took that journey, and now I can help others take that journey as well. Back to you, Miss Jason.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. It is a lot to take in, especially as us as young women being adopted. Our whole identity as perceived by society is nurturers and believers and resilience. But at the same token, when you have a blank slate, such as Miss Nicole and myself, it's kind of, you're trying to understand where you fit in. What am I going to do? And I don't know, Miss Nicole, you could chime in as well. I don't know if you've experienced this, but one of my biggest questions when I was growing up was, well, if my parents didn't want me for whatever reason, A through Z, how am I going to learn to love? How am I going to be accepted? How am I going to trust again? And it's a very thin thread that a lot of people don't understand. And when you are adopting a child, when you are working with somebody and learning their history that they have been adopted, I'll be quite honest and transparent. Some of our trials and tribulations include abandonment issues, trust issues, fitting in, never being good enough, never being smart enough, not knowing how to love, and always trying to be better than ourselves. And our self-esteem is so limited, if not non-existent, because we didn't have that foundation. And as having over 2 decades in the social work and psychology industries, I've learned nature nurturance plays a huge component when developing a family. As you're building a legacy of love within the family, those are the key components. Nurturance, pardon me, nature from infantry to in utero, almost to 7 months to 11 months up to a year, is everything that you're subliminally exposed to. The wellness of your parents, the wellness of the environment, the nature components. And then you have the nurturance from, I don't know, roughly up until 7 years old, 7 years old. And that was where, for me, I came into my new family and trying to understand what was going on. Again, like I mentioned, a treasure and tragedy. So to keep on mindful of time, we're just about halfway. I'd like to turn it over to Miss Nicole. And what are 3 key points that you feel you have benefited that you could share with our audience as a takeaway message to the families and those fellow adoptees, orphans who are in the world today, worldwide? Because that's what we're here. We're here to empower both sides of the entities to and give them strength, faith, love, and resilience. Miss Nicole?
So, I would like to first, one of the first takeaways I'm going to say is forgive. It's such a simple word, but it has such a huge meaning. And a lot of times we find it hard not only to forgive others, but to forgive ourselves. We struggle with wanting to know, what did I do wrong? Did I do anything wrong? Could I have done anything different? And listen, I've come to learn it's not about what happens to you, but it's about how you handle what happens to you. And so I first want to say forgive. I second want to say get to know who you are. Because if you do not get to know who you are, you cannot, wouldn't even know which direction to take from there. And in order to get to know who you are, you have to, I would say, seek God. You have to seek God to figure that out for yourself. everybody's journey is different, everybody's purpose is different. So get to know who you are, get with your God, and figure out what it is that brought you here and what is it that you need to be doing here. Um, Third of all, and I want to say this because this is what I did, help somebody else. Give back. Give back. You cannot give back if you don't first do the work. But once you do the work, now you can take that and bless somebody else. You can be the difference in somebody else's life. So those are the three things. I want to say forgive, get to know yourself outside of your traumas before anything happened to you, and give back.
Absolutely, Miss Nicole. I totally agree with you. You know, it is not easy to forgive. And as an accountability coach myself, that's one thing that I encourage people to do. I encourage people to, because when we don't forgive others, we have toxicity. And toxicity suppressed becomes stress. And stress, as you know, can be the silent killer of us all if we push it under the carpet. Feelings are meant to be felt. Feelings are meant to be experienced. Feelings are meant to be shared because we are human individuals of humanity. And when we, as Ms. Nicole had mentioned, is probably the three tiers as an accountability coach that I work with individuals and guide them as I help them achieve their goals and dreams through the healing power of forgiveness is to forgive, because most importantly, if we don't face our past will continue to chase us and an innocent bystander will be in our way. Secondly, I parallel with self-awareness, learning about who you are, trusting that you are capable, you are abundant, that our creator has given us each different sets of skills, talents, and goals and dreams to live out. And the areas of improvement, that's where we connect. That's where we help one another. That's where we rise and we unite. And most importantly, also, is to pay it forward. Paying it forward is something that I really hold true to. Anybody who knows me out of all years, decades of my life, I hope leaders across the world who are watching and listening on playback hear this from my heart. When you remember where you came from and you reach back and lift them up and forward, you empower and enlighten the world because you remember the struggles and stripes it took to get to your success as you are here today. These are three key points that I parallel with Miss Nicole and am honored and grateful to share with our audiences all over the world. This is a message that is home true for us. You know, the purity of peace, the patience, love, abundance. That's what it's about. Resiliency, integrity. You have two women on this platform from two different stories, two different backgrounds, but joining together on a worldwide international platform globally, sharing our message with the world. And I encourage you to, as I always say, follow your heart and not the herd nor the hurt. For love, joy, success are on the other side. I'd like to put it back to Miss Nicole. If you have any questions, to definitely share those, and then we'll wrap up. Back to you.
Miss Mason, am I answering? Am I asking questions or am I answering questions?
Yes, you can answer. Yes.
So, Miss Mason, I know you asked me a few takeaways that I would give to the audience. I want to ask you, on behalf of myself and the audience, what are some takeaways that you would give to the people that are watching?
Absolutely. When we are living in a world of where we are today, it is the unknown, it is the uncertain, and it is the mysterious. Today, we are getting segregated, diversified for every single thing. And I truly believe when we act with integrity, feel brave enough, feel strong enough to speak up respectfully and civilly. Free will is our choice that we each have. Free will is a choice that every day we can make to do the right thing or not. But we have to understand that with our choices, there is a result. And when we point the finger at somebody else, there's three fingers pointing back at us. So make sure you are choosing your life accordingly. Like I like to call, press play. Plan life according to you. For you, write your own story. Take the pen in your hand. And through life's trials and tribulations, triumphs are won. And as a result of this platform today, through the toughest times, Miss Nicole and myself are miracles that were made. And most importantly, hear this from my heart. When you find and self discover yourself, have heightened self awareness, and you find what you love, that's when you're at your best self in service to others. And that's when you shine brightly, for we are an instrument and vessel of our higher selves, our Creator, and for any of those who have a higher power that they believe. So never let the naysayers shut you down. Because, like I say, in a world of the two dimensional, we're all virtual. We have likes, dislikes, followers, and non followers. But most importantly, we must understand our why, our mission, our message in this world. For when we find our true passion in what we do and why we do it, the best way to do it is through your story. And as our mentor, Mr. Les Brown, says, vulnerability is a sign of strength and awareness, not a sign of weakness. And I am grateful for each and every connection, positive, short term, and long term, of every connection that I have. And I want you to know that we are here as women of resilience and integrity to let you know that the impossible is possible. That when you put your mind and heart in alignment, that's when we are at our best. So I'd like to turn it over to Miss Nicole. Thank you for having and sharing this platform with me, for your final words, and then we'll close off on our services as well as our connections where they can find us. Back to you, my dear.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Ms. Mason. In closing, I just want to remind all of the viewers to remember that God put you here for a reason. If you have a pulse, you have hope. You have a purpose, and I want to remind you that you are a miracle, not a mistake. I don't care what anyone tells you. I don't care how you feel. Pick that up. The fact that you're still here means that God has a purpose for you. I want you to, going into this new year, we're getting ready to go into the new year. I want you to really put yourself before God and figure out what it is that He purposed you to do here. Figure it out and take off running with that.
And tell me your title and what you do so we can, how they can reach you on your services.
Yes, so um, my name is Nicole Gordon. Again, my stage name is Nikki Bamboo. You can find me on my Facebook at NickoleGordon. That's Nicole Gordon. You can see my name here on the screen. That's on Facebook. And you can find me at Nikki Bamboo on Instagram. That's NICKIBAMBOO. And I do public speaking. I'm a psychology major and I'm also in ministry. So you can find me on either one of those pages. You can also email me at my first name and last name at gmail.com.
Excellent. And yes, again, my name is Andrea Mason, your personal accountability coach, global voice, certified under the mentorship of the Mr. Les Brown. I am all on social media platform handles such as LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, And I am grateful to have this connection with Miss Nicole as we are working together in achieving her goals as her coach. And I'm just so excited to share this platform of resilience. This is a woman of resilience. I'm a woman of integrity. And as women, please remember this most importantly. We are not here in competition with each other. The only competition we have is a reflection in the mirror every single day to be a better service to others, but most importantly, a service to ourselves. So I thank you all for joining us today. If any comments, please like, share, subscribe, and share this platform out. We may be coming back. We will see. We might do it again. But as Miss Nicole says, we are arriving and approaching 2022. And remember, in 2022, it's about you and being your best self. Wishing you safe holidays, safe travels, be prosperous, and live with abundance and live with passion. I'm going to unmute Miss Nicole and we are going to say Happy New Year. Be safe, be
Happy
well,
New Year.
and then check us out. Again, this will be on playback comments if you like anything. Also, if you have any questions, if we get enough questions or comments, we'll come back and do this again. Thank you so much for your time. It's our most precious gift. And on that note, be safe, be well. Te amo. All right, everyone. Take care. Be well.